Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. Been a while since I've been to one of these.
Yeah, no, nice to have you. Yeah, this should be a good one. We got some good presentations lined up.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually don't have any time on Sunday afternoon, but today my partner was doing something else. I'm like, you know what? I can actually go to this.
Sweet. It looks like we got people starting to come in. Let me go ahead and make the announcement, and then I will be right back because my cat is scratching at the door.
Hello.
And never mind, right as I was about to get up, my girlfriend got it.
Nice. It is always hilarious watching someone's avatar take their head off.
Oh yeah, just folding in on itself.
Yep. Never gets old.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Bela.
Hi.
Oh boy.
I guess you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Yep. So it'll probably take a few minutes just to let people come in, and then I guess we'll kick off the presentations with yours since you got here first.
Sure.
Or Felix talking about the immersive web emulator runtime,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and then there's a presentation from me,
Oh, nice.
which I will save as a surprise until I go.
Awesome.
Hey, Imagineer.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How about you?
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I've been slacking on the hubs side of things. I really need to update my my scene to not have the embedded Mozilla asset still.
Right, yeah, we're working on that too.
Yeah, so you have like the whole document to track the branding removal.
Yep, yep. Few people are helping out with that, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Felix. Hello.
Hi, Felix.
Are you in here on the emulator right now? Oh, he was definitely in here on the emulator. That's funny. Yo,
Hello.
hello. All right, got more people coming in. All right. Just redecorate real quick.
Hello, folks.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, one more. All right. I think we got a decent crowd now. So, Bela, where's Bela?
I'm here.
Okay, lost you in the crowd for a second. If you want to go ahead and get ready for your presentation, be my guest.
Last time I had a little bit trouble sharing my screen or just positioning it somewhere, so it's a good idea to start early with that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
You need me to toss it on screen for you?
I mean, maybe I have to go.
Yeah, you kind of gotta like walk it all the way up there if you're on
Okay,
a
let me.
desktop.
I have to learn it someday. So, okay, okay. Now I got it. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. I guess I
Like,
will. Okay. So I hope everybody can see and hear me. If that's the case, then I guess I start my presentation. So hello everybody. I'm Bela Bullender, and I'd like to present to you or reintroduce our library React 3XR and everything that comes with it. So it's a reintroduction. And what do I mean with our? So I'm currently at the developer organization called Pomondres. Probably a few of you heard of it. And
one sec, Bela. The screen got taken under.
okay,
Jeez. Oh, bad time for controller to die.
I just share again.
You can, yeah.
Okay, let me walk it up there. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, did I do something wrong?
I don't think so. Sometimes an inadvertent like interaction from somebody can accidentally move it, and there's not a way to pin the content on that screen. Sadly, so I'll just keep an eye out for it to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay, awesome. I think it's still not there.
Uh, uh, hmm, um,
Should I just do it again?
yeah, one more time.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
If anyone wants to submit a pull request to fix that, we would happily look at and review it.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
For sure.
Okay, so I hope it's now
Yes.
there. Okay, perfect. So yeah, so I'm from the Permanence group, and there was a React 3XR package already out there, but it was mainly unmaintained and lacking a lot of WebXR features. And so this reintroduction of React 3XR is a major rewrite. It's published under the major version number V6, version 6, and it's a major overhaul of over the React 3XR package. And I have a I recommend everybody check it out and check the documentation out and stuff. But I just wanted to present to everybody, like motivate why we did it and what's new. And the main motivation is the overall React 3 ecosystem. So everybody who knows React 3 Fiber, there's a whole ecosystem around that where there are like simple React components that allow you to basically enable physics, enable user interaction, enable user interfaces, for instance, just with React components. And this ecosystem has, of course, a lot of benefits just because there are like all these out-of-the-box components. And React 3XR in the earlier state wasn't able to really interact with those because it was using its own event system. So one key feature that we worked on is using the same event system. So the whole ecosystem is more compatible. One thing, and that's what you see in these demos under here, is that I took existing React Free Fiber demos which have never been thought or developed with the intent to make them XR compatible. And I injected the new React 3 XR version into them and spent maybe 30 minutes to, for instance, there's a demo with where you can play ping pong with your hands. So I then took the bat, the table tennis bat, and positioned it in the hand. And these modifications took like 30 minutes. But basically, over the span of 3 hours, I made 6 demos, which were just based off existing React 3 Fiber demos, who have never been thought with the idea of XR interaction. So that's maybe the testament to the idea of an ecosystem, that you build something and it works with mouse, with touch, and also with controllers, with the new Apple Vision Pro interactions. So there's a Minecraft demo on the page which works with the Apple Vision Pro, with the transient pointers. And also in terms of what's new is a big focus on simplicity. So I'm reading from this, I'm sharing this unpublished blog post that we will publish on the Pomondros blog. Maybe will be a little bit different, but so the key features of this rewrite are the ecosystem, which I already explained. It's about simplicity and capabilities. Simplicity means we focused on having a lot of reduced boilerplate. So right now, by default, you have hands and controllers, and you can interact with them. So if you just inject 3 lines of code into your application, you have interactive hands, you have interactive controllers, you have interactive transient pointers. So there's a lot of thought went into reducing the boilerplate and making reasonable defaults that can be exchanged, and having control, fine-grained control, even when accessing like the primitives, the WebXR primitives. So they are high-level abstractions, but you also get low-level access. And the third part, of course, is capabilities, which means things like mesh detection, plane detection. So all these new WebXR features that I think we're all so excited about made it into React 3 XR v6. But there's, of course, also a roadmap ahead, which includes features like DOM overlay. So this rewrite currently, right now, mostly focuses on augmented reality and virtual reality headsets, because also that's like mostly what I do. But things like DOM overlay, which of course only works in handheld augmented reality, smartphones, devices, these features will also come. They're like already developed. I will publish them in the next version 6.1, which will come next week. Also something which is on the roadmap, just released by Meta in the newest version of the browser, is the multimodal support, so that we can use, which I'm personally very excited about, is having the ability to use hands and controllers at the same time. So things like that. So the idea is really to make this a modern solution for the React 3 ecosystem for building augmented reality and virtual reality headsets applications. And but that's not all. So this is like React 3 XR is one package which is published from the Pomondros XR GitHub page. So this is the GitHub page. It's just pomondros/xr. And one of the packages that is published is the React 3 XR package. But we also publish a vanilla version, which is just published under pomondros/xr. So if you're familiar with UIKit, Pomondros UI Kit, where I'm also the maintainer. There we do the same thing, where we publish a React version and the vanilla version. So the Pomondros UI Kit vanilla version was sponsored by Needle Engine, and Pomondros/XR. I did it because I like to support also people who don't like love working with React or don't like React. So this is also an opportunity for like other people who are not React friendly or like love to work in other engines. And there's another package which is published under the Pomondros/XR repository, which is called pointer events. So this is published under Pomondros/pointer events, which is a package that enables, this is for vanilla 3JS applications, and it just enables pointer events implementation, which is Web3C compatible. So we are actually integration testing against the Chromium browser that the exact same events, the exact same order of events is emitted when the user interacts. And the advantage is, of course, that this works with mouse and mobile touch, but the same concept, the same pointer events concept is also applied for XR things. So for controllers, for raycasting controllers, for touching with your hands, for grabbing, even for teleporting, you can use the concept of pointer events. This is something I want to highlight because we didn't like make a big thing of that, because for most end users in the community, they prefer just using React 3XR. But for people who are maybe library developers and ecosystem developers who want to use just the pointer events that have been used here, they can, and we encourage that. So this is the Pomondros/XR repository with 3 packages: React 3XR, Pomondros/XR, and Pomondros/pointer events. And this was my short introduction. And yeah, I love to discuss things. And I'm basically here for like all questions that you have regarding technical implementations, ecosystem questions, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it. So I'd love to have your questions, and thank you for listening. So if anybody has a question or anything.
So I have one that's it's kind of related to React XR with the UI kit stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't got a chance to dive into React Kit, so could you give us like the 30-second overview of what UI Kit can do versus just trying to build our GUI with like other systems like Babylon JS GUI or things like that?
Yeah, sure. So I come from a web developer standpoint, and I love the idea of things like Flexbox, which have it made in many ecosystems like React Native. And UIKit is basically trying to give these features that are well known for HTML, CSS developers, and tries to give them to 3D environments. So UIKit focuses on being very compatible with the with HTML, CSS, and like the way that you write CSS. But it also focuses on rendering user interfaces very performantly. So that means like a big focus is on instancing, obviously, and how to render user interfaces with like 2 draw calls. So rendering panels, rendering text, and rendering a whole user interface in 2 draw calls. So this is the current state of UIKit. And there's also like some future ideas, which means like how can we render multiple user interfaces with 2 draw calls, with multi-draw, and all that stuff. But basically it's just trying to build to give the HTML CSS that people love from 2D web to 3D, and speed up development of user interfaces. Because for me that's like a major part about 3D. That I always, if I'm building applications, I always had to build these user interfaces myself to absolutely position blocks. And I think this is like a good enough solution for many cases. But if you are like having dynamic content and you want to have a scrollable list, and then things should reposition themselves based on what aspect ratio an image has and stuff like that. So it can start to get really complicated to build this manually, and then it is really good to have like this like more or less simple idea of Flexbox, to just, okay, I can just write it down a Flexbox, and I don't have to do any math. It just basically works. And this is the idea of UIKit. And as I said, with this whole ecosystem, React 3 UIKit is fully compatible with React 3 XR, because the both concepts for React 3 UIKit and React 3 XR both build on the concept of pointer events. So React 3 UIKit has no information about React 3 XR and vice versa, but because they're using this this concept of pointer events, they are both compatible with each other out of the box. So scrolling, dragging, all these things, they just work.
Does that also support like direct touch if the user just reaches out with hand tracking and touches
Yes.
the UI?
Exactly. And like this is something I didn't went into detail, but React 3 XR is made to be multimodal in the sense of you can touch things, you can ray grab things, you can grab things. So the idea is that you can use touching and grabbing at the same time. So there went a little bit of like conceptual effort into like enabling that, because of course, if you touch a thing and you can grab the same thing, you don't want both interactions to happen at the same time. But basically, with this React 3 XR, it allows you to specify what elements should consume touch events and what elements should consume grab events. And by this distinction, you can enable the user to do, basically you can grab the UI at the handle and then touch the UI with your fingers. So basically just you can build the things that you now from the Quest OS.
Awesome, thank you.
Let me go over there were some questions in the chat. Okay, so iOS, so there's a question about the augmented reality on mobile phones, iOS and Safari. I guess if you're using like the variant launcher and stuff, they should work, but Android should definitely work. So if you're having errors in that, please reach out, either raising an issue on GitHub. But yeah, so I mainly like focus on headsets, but of course, like smartphone augmented reality, virtual reality is also like will also be supported, of course. There's also a question: do you see the end consumers of content made with React 3 XR being consumers or enterprise? So like I guess that's also like we are talking about the React 3 ecosystem, and I think there are like of course both types of consumers there. We have many people just building awesome demos for their private showcases, but there are also a lot of enterprise consumers for React 3. And this also goes hand in hand with React 3 XR. So I think the users of React 3 XR are the same for the React 3 ecosystem, and it's made for consumers and enterprise. Maybe you could also elaborate like what you would see different, because like Pomondres is a relatively big organization, so it's relatively trustworthy, and they are people who like have who can replace each other. So in case like one maintainer has other stuff to do, like there are other people who can step in, and I think the group has shown that. So I think it is enterprise ready, but at the same time, of course, like we love to support consumers. And of course, like thanks for all your questions. It's awesome. There's another question in chat. How does converting regular React code to XR work under the hood? So because you are using React, if you're already using the React 3 ecosystem, XR, there's no big difference. The same that if you build a 2D 3JS application, so with 2D I mean like for non-XR use cases, 3JS applications for non-XR use cases, this code just would also work for XR most of the time. So there's basically zero conversion you have to do. You only have to do you only have to think about the use case, of course. So how should the user interact with that? And if you want to have a specific type of interaction, you have to build that, of course. But there, as I said, there are like reasonable defaults, so you can grab and touch things out of the box. So there shouldn't be like, the goal is to have like minimal conversion to be done to make your React 3 XR to make your React 3 app compatible with XR. Yeah, I think that was it. If anybody has another question, I'd love to answer it. But yeah, thanks again for all the questions.
I think there were a couple more in chat you might not have gotten to yet.
I don't see.
There was a question asking about how to get started with React XR as a non-React developer, and then another one asking about the physics.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why it doesn't scroll down. Okay. Okay. What is the best way to start with React XR for a non-React developer? Okay. So yeah, I guess that's like a very reasonable question. And it's in general, that's a good part about the React ecosystem in general. It builds on very few basic principles. So the best way to start with React 3 XR, if you are not a React developer, is to learn React, which is of course like a bummer if you don't want to use React. And that's also why we are providing a non-React entry point. As I said, Pomodoro/XR is basically the same. It gives you the same defaults, but with just writing vanilla 3JS code without using React. But yeah, the best way to start is basically learning React. The good part, of course, is that you learn these primitives once, and you can apply them anywhere React is applied, which is also why I think that React in general is so big. But it's your decision. If you think React is a good solution, use it. But if you don't, as I said, we are trying to be vanilla friendly, trying to provide solutions that don't require React knowledge. How do physics work? Are there some sophisticated simulators making use of the AR augmented reality scene, e.g. for collision with real objects? So React 3 XR only solves interaction and XR related stuff. Collision or physics in general is something that React 3 XR does not care about, but there are actually two packages, or I think even three, in the React 3 ecosystem that solves physics. And because it's an ecosystem, they are compatible, which means there is like this one demo I shared with the ragdoll, where I'm just dragging the ragdoll and the physics apply, and the ragdoll falls down and stuff. So this works but it has nothing to do with React 3XR. It has the whole physics is solved by the ecosystem. So what I actually did for this demo, I just injected React 3XR in there, and it almost just worked because it's using pointer events, and the concept of pointer events was used to build this demo. So by using the same concept, I can just insert React 3XR in there, and physics basically just works. Can you give the name of these 3 tools? Can you? Yes.
I
Sorry?
think it's React 3 Rapier, React 3 Jolt, and trying to remember what the other physics
Canon.
library
React
they have is
Canon.
Canon. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea is in general of the React 3 ecosystem is provide a nice developer experience and wrap these existing libraries into a React kind of syntax, so that people who are already familiar with React, they can just use their knowledge and use these libraries. But yeah, I think somebody also, yeah, this is how physics works. Yeah, exactly. So this is a very good example of using Rapier for physics. Did I miss any other questions? Just let me know.
I think you got all of them.
Awesome. So if anybody has a live question, let me know. But other than that, very grateful to have presented that. And yeah, I'm on Discord, Twitter. Reach out if you have questions, if you want to build something, and I'm not sure if this is a good solution. I'm trying to be very honest, and reach out, and I'll love to discuss things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clap, clap.
Alrighty. Thank you, Bela. And Felix, if you want to present next whenever you're ready.
Yeah, hold on, let me, first time joining on a PC, let me see, how do I share this? Entire screen. Okay, I have something, how do I?
Um,
Oh, I'll just put it up there, right?
I think if you scroll, that's what pushes it on desktop. But yeah, there you go.
Does that work?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Scrolling works.
Let me
Okay,
reposition the camera real
let
quick.
me see where the hell this is. Wait, hold on. So so you all see this, right? Like the GitHub
Yes.
page?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm just not gonna be able to see you all. That's fine. So hello everybody. I'm Felix, and from Meta, and you might also know me from the game Elysian. And very happy to be here today to talk about immersive web emulation runtime. So this is something that we launched a little while ago, and yeah, I just wanted to give a quick introduction. I feel like a few of the concepts introduced are a little more like abstract and vague, and people might not understand what to do with this. So here I am. So yeah, so immersive web emulation runtime is a full WebXR runtime that basically it's developed using TypeScript, or I guess JavaScript. It runs in your browser client. You can inject it into your application, or just do so when you are developing. It polyfills the entire set of WebXR APIs that's coded against the latest living spec of the WebXR, and with hand support, with an AR module that's currently in development and will be released soon. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And what we can do with it, I think, in my opinion, there are 3 parts of this. So this is actually the documentation site. I'll drop a link in the in the chat in a bit. But basically, yeah. So I think there are 3 different use cases for this. Before we dive into this, a little bit of backstory of how this came to be. So I trust most people here are familiar with the Immersive Web Emulator. The immersive web emulator does inject a polyfill into your WebXR experiences so that you can emulate running WebXR on your computer. And so for the polyfill part, immersive web emulator was actually using the WebXR-polyfill, wonderful package from back in the day. It's quite outdated right now, and the version that I'm using in immersive web emulator is a very heavily patched version of that, because it didn't have like hand tracking support, it didn't have most of the AR features such as like actually I think it had ray casting, it had hit testing, but it didn't have like mesh, XR meshes or XR planes and things like that. So yeah, and it was very heavily modified and patched, so it's kind of a nightmare for maintenance. I'm getting a lot of reports from people saying that, hey, there's a corner case where this is not working. So we ended up trying to basically do a rewrite of this using TypeScript against the latest spec. So that's its function that we had in mind at first. But as the project went on, we realized that there are more use cases that the immersive web emulation runtime can do. It's still going to replace the polyfill in the immersive web emulator. That will come a little bit later in the year because still doing the AR module stuff. But before then, here are three use cases that I picture people to use this as. The first one is to do bespoke WebXR development tool. So, I mean, you've used immersive web emulator, you know that the panel on the right and the way that you control the cameras and the control, I mean, works, but it might not be the most convenient way for you to do emulation. So, and I fully understand that the different kind of WebXR experiences, interactions in those WebXR experiences are very nuanced, and it's pretty much impossible to have a one size fit all solution for this. Let's say if you're doing a boxing app, it's very heavily gesture based. Well, it's not going to be very easily done using an emulator. And that's why I wanted to expose the underlying, what's under the hood for the emulator, so that people can actually build their own dev tools. And this might sound like a pretty high lift thing to do, but it's really not. And to demonstrate what I mean by a bespoke dev tool, I actually started working on something for the past couple of weeks that I'm personally really excited about. I actually did some demo with some people in the crowd. I think I showed Billa this before. But yeah, this is going to be published very soon, and I'm very excited to give you a sneak peek of it. So, immersive web emulator, the what's on top is going to be an interface that allows you to control the emulated device, just like the old emulator. And the new version, what I was imagining, will look like this. Well, okay, so this is actually Escape Artist, one of my favorite WebXR experiences of all time. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. I think it's a wonderful experience. And so okay, so like that's the extension I'm currently building. If I have it toggled off, obviously, we have to come back on a WebXR enabled immersive device to experience Escape Artist. That's fine. When I click it, it will inject eyewear into this experience, and now it's picking up WebXR support. It also does user agent override, so uh, all the different frameworks that check the UA string will also work on this. I'll skip tutorial. I'll try to make this spoiler free so that people can still enjoy this experience afterwards. Okay, so after you click on Enter VR, the first thing you notice, hey, we don't need that side panel on the right anymore. What you need is all in this page. Actually, maybe let me zoom in a little bit so that people can see a little better. Yeah, so basically what we have over here, this is the controllers. You have the rays over here. You can control them. It's a layer on top of the game canvas so that you can basically just I'm able to overlay the control on top of this. Click it again, you have rotation control. Yeah, same thing goes for over here. You have the emulated button control interface on the bottom left and bottom right corners, which I'll demonstrate in a bit. You can also, like, if you look, uh, you can also, I guess, you can also adjust your player height by pressing the L shift and yeah, doing this. And also you can room scale movement on the top left corner. This means like you're not actually moving in the game, but you're moving in a room scale environment that's around you. Let's say you're just like physically walking in your room, and you can emulate this by pressing Shift and WASD to do that. Okay. This is not the. This is. I mean, you are able to do this in the old emulator. What's more exciting for this is that let me reset this. Is this play mode button? So when you click on this play mode button, oh hold on. If you click on this play mode button, wait, all of a sudden the controls fall away, and your cursor is actually locked into your canvas now. And what you will see on the bottom left and bottom right corner are no longer the UI, but they are the key mapping. So if you look on the left, we have the joystick mapped to WASD, and R is pressing down the joystick. We don't need that. So to move around in this experience, I just do WASD, and like with my mouse, I can just move around the environment and check out different kind of things. Um, Pretty handy. And yeah, so this experience particularly, I think it uses, I think it's the grip to grab things, and that's how you interact with most things in this experience. And you can very easily just do that because right now, if you look on my right bottom corner, the grip is actually mapped to the mouse right click. We can change that in a bit if that doesn't work for you. But so what we can do is that basically we aim something at over here and we just grab, and I'm pressing down the mouse right button right now, and I'll drop it like that. Yeah, so it all just work like this. Another thing, this is the lock. You can grab it, and now it says right joystick to change the lock. And what's my right joystick map to? The arrow keys. So I can do the arrow keys like that to change the combination and finish the game. Yeah, so that's pretty much this play mode, which I personally find pretty useful. If you want to quit the play mode, just simply press escape, and you're back at your inspector mode. And you can do things like, hey, if that particular key map didn't work for me, I can change everything over here. I can, for example, I want to do left mouse click for the grab, which I'll just be able to do. Click on this and just switch them to. Yeah, so that's that. This is controlling the FOV for the entire scene. This is obviously not something that you can control on a physical headset because it's determined by the projection matrix that coming from the headset. But for convenience, you can do so on with this particular dev tool. And this button acts as VR, and you can jump back in doing this. Yeah, so this is one example. Another one is this. I was just having some fun on HeyVR.io and just looking into different games and see, which one I can just play with this like a PC game. And this is a perfect example. I click on Enter VR. Okay, so right now it looks a little bit, the FOV is a little bit too wide. I can reduce that a little bit, and the gun for a FPS game usually is I think about like over here, I would say. This looks more like it. And yeah, so after this, I'll just click on play mode, and I think the aliens are about to show up. Where are they? Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm just like playing a shooting game on PC now, just using this because the trigger is mapped to the left click, mouse click. I'm just able to do this. I'm not very good at this game, but yeah, you get the idea. Cool. So that's that. Sorry, got a little carried away. So that's the first one. What I meant by bespoke dev tool. This is an example. This will be published. This is called iWar/dev UI. This will be published as a package first, so that people can play around with it. Eventually, we're working on replacing the current immersive web emulator extension with this. It's not ready yet because it doesn't have the AR stuff, but we will be. I want to say before the end of the year. This is going to be the IWV 2.0. The second use case I picture people to be using this is using this as a cross-platform control in your product. When you ship this to production, you want it to be able to have the game playable on mobile or desktop. Well, you can do that with IWE because it's actually super lightweight. The reason why AR module is a separate module is because we need some kind of 3D library to be able to keep track of your surrounding space, which makes the package a little more hefty. And so that's why I wanted to keep it separate, because just the core module plus hand tracking actually doesn't require us to bundle in something like 3JS or something like that. So this is super lightweight. I want to say it's like under 100 KB. I don't quote me on that. I need to check on that, but it's super lightweight and it doesn't have virtually no performance concerns just because you added iWar into your game. And if you click link, I'll drop a link to the documentation site in a bit as well. But if you click into this, some people might be familiar, might remember Project Flowerbed. It's a fun project I got to work on, really cool. I actually used iWar to add a cross-platform control to it. So you can actually go to, let's say, Project Flowerbed. Flowerbed.metademo lab over here, and you will be able to just return to your gardens. Oh, actually, no. I wanted to turn off this because it already has iWar in the experience. So if I go in here, it's going to say, hey, PC control bindings, you can do blah, blah, blah. And click on it again, it locks it in. There's things like, I want to say, whoops, forgot the binding. That is action wheel is F. Okay, so I press on F. I wanted to do some seeds, plant some seeds. You can do this over here. Yeah, bring it up again, take a picture. No, that's pretty cool. And what if I want to save the picture? I think it's, what is it called? E, right? Okay, so I press on E, and then I can just delete it or save it. When I save it, it's kind of drop into my computer. Yeah, so this is what I mean by having cross-platform control with IWE is actually super simple, and it I think overlaps a lot with the bespoke dev tool part, because if you're playing on PC or developing on PC using iWar, you are also testing your WebXR input stack, because everything is just the experience doesn't know that I'm running on PC. The experience thinks I'm still running on MetaQuest 3 device, and all of these are on top of the WebXR input stack. So I'm still testing out, there's one single input stack. I'm always using that. So save you the trouble of having to branch off of that and develop a separate input stack for mobile or for PC, things like that. Another example is ooh, no. Sorry. It is good. Yeah, another example is this, and this is already fully integrated on top of iWar, and you can do things that you can just play on PC as well as mobile. Yeah, if you haven't, go check it out. Yeah, cool. So that's that. That's the second part I wanted to touch upon. And the third part is action capture and playback. I want to preface this by saying this is super experimental. We heard from this Discord community that a lot of people would like to have a way to record input and play back somewhere else for easy troubleshooting or scalable end-to-end testing and things like that. And this is not finished yet. I think this is I'm hoping this to be a collaborative effort between Meta as well as the community, because we would love to get your feedback on like what kind of things you want in addition to just like capture this impact and be able to play back. Obviously, like for example, I'm thinking like if I need to deploy this for testing purposes, I'll probably need a specific kind of testing framework to check whether this action happened, whether my condition has been met. So really curious to see what people do with this. With that being said, this is an example of what this is a snippet of a video I captured on a MetaQuest 3 device. Is doing a bunch of things, um, pressing some buttons, and I'm going to put the controllers down and switch to hands. And I'm going to point at the different cubes like this. Yeah, I think that's the whole sequence that I did, and I recorded this entire input sequence. And this here is a live demo. So it's already has IW injected. Click on Enter VR. You can play the input recording that's like hard coded into the experience already. You click on that because this is happening in real time. This is a WebXR experience, not a video. It's just doing the exact same things, putting the controllers down, switching to hands, you press on different cubes, just like what happened in the video just now. And yeah, I hope this can be useful for people. I mean, obviously, it's not running on the same frame rate. There was a lot of sampling going behind the scenes, so it's not like 100% accurate because my current computer is the monitor is 60 frames per second. I think it was running at 90 frames per second on my headset when I recorded that. So there's a little bit, but we were it's a timeline based thing. So we do resample frames from the recording so that you can run on a native frame rate of your testing device. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the three main things I can think of that this can possibly be helpful to people. And yeah, well, check it out if you haven't. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, coming back here, I should stop sharing. So, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so this will be perfect time for some questions if you have any. I'm also on Discord, so feel free to reach out to me directly. Yeah.
Florian had a question about the workflow for exporting that initial recording from the headset.
Oh, hold on. I'm seeing questions. Yeah, so right now it's very basic. When I say experimental, it's like really just whatever I thought of at the time. I think right now it's basically just there's a .log function for the recorder that just basically dump everything as a JSON string into your console, and that's how you get it off. We can probably do things like I want to say maybe put it as a download file, but it's also not like the most straightforward thing to get a file in download folder from a MetaQuest Direct device to your to a computer. So what I do is I just use the Chrome Dev tool, the remote Dev tool, and I'll be able to access the console on my headset, and I'll just grab that off the console. Yeah, but totally open to suggestions if you have a better idea. Happy to implement it. Okay. What is the exporting? That's also very useful. Cool. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be another question. Thank you very much, Jen, to your comment. Anything else?
I think that might be it.
That might be it. Great. Awesome. Thank you very much. While I still have the mic, I would like to shout out that Meta and AWS is doing another collaborative hackathon again. So this time it's going to be about Gen AI and e-commerce, 2 tracks you can choose. If you are in the Bay Area, I think it's from the 27th to 29th of August.
Mhm.
Please check out. I think Daniel already dropped the link in the Discord, so please check that out. One minor communication, I think it's my bad. I think Daniel said this isn't WebXR specifically about WebXR. We are going to have people from the native side in this as well, but we're targeting at least 50% of the developers are going to be using WebXR. So it's very much a WebXR centric event. Yeah, so
Okay.
would love to see all of you there. If you're interested, there's going to be prize money. There's going to be headsets to take home. So yeah, cool. All right, thank you very much.
Awesome.
I also can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yep.
Okay, sorry, because yeah, I had a question. Maybe not a question, but something I wanted to suggest. Because like thinking about this, all this stuff in the last days, and of course, like it's super awesome and very much needed. I'm super thankful that this exists. And I had this idea because from my side, I think it would be super to have easier access to awesome recording tools, like creating videos for WebXR things. And this like came to mind, and I just want to share the idea if somebody builds it, um, because I think this can be like an awesome tool to press record on your Quest, and then download the recording and then render high quality video with like more creative freedom on your PC, so that you don't have to rely on recording it while you're playing. You can record it and then do the video rendering basically on your device. I think this could allow like a really nice workflow to create like awesome recordings that maybe get more traction in in social media. Just wanted to share that idea. If anyone who wants to build on that, like I think it would be great to have that.
Bill, that's a fantastic idea. Actually, a fun fact I wanted to share if I still have a minute. Yeah, this like we prototyped. I started prototyping this feature in the old immersive web emulator about like 2 years ago when we were still working on Flowerbed, and the motivation behind prototyping this exact feature was that we wanted to get a high quality rendering of some in-game footage on our PC because I mean the headset wasn't, yeah, like the resolution wasn't great, and yeah, like it also have stereo rendering, so you can customize the IPD and make a 3D video out of it as well. So yeah, fantastic idea. I think, yeah, love to see something like this. Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. And then our third presentation is from me. So give me just a second. I need to share my screen and while I'm still in the headset. So need some finagling. Mhm. 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 All right. And slideshow. Okay. And can everyone see that right now?
No.
Cannot. Okay,
Yep.
one sec. Oh, you can.
I can.
Once. Okay. Cool. Cool. So I guess this is what Felix meant when he said he couldn't see it. So I'll just turn this way. Should fix that sometime. Oh, I think I accidentally. There it is. Okay. All right. Yeah. So my presentation is about Servo and WebXR in 2024. Which is something that I've been working on for the last little while, I guess you could say. Um, so, okay. Can everyone see it right now? I can't see it in headset, but I can see it on desktop at the moment. So I don't know if there's a discrepancy happening there.
Yeah, I'm in headset and I can't see it.
I can see a slide that says Servo and WebXR.
Okay. Um, I'll press ahead. There's nothing really visually significant in the slides. It's mostly just the talking points, so you'll kind of get the same experience from me just kind of going off of them. But yeah, so a quick primer for people that might not be familiar with Servo. Servo, as they say it on their website, is an embeddable, independent, memory-safe, modular, parallel web rendering engine written in Rust. So think the equivalent of like Gecko, WebKit, or Blink. Not a full browser, just what powers everything for the browser. It was, my goodness, puppy. It originally started as a Mozilla research project in 2012. Powered Firefox Reality for a time before it switched to Gecko, moved to Wolvik. Now they're moving that to Chromium. Um, Development stalled back in 2020. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Mozilla layoffs back then. That affected all of the Servo team. But in 2023, they received new funding from Igalia with dedicated support to reactivate the project. So things have kind of been moving along there for a bit. And then what is WebXR? If you're at the meetup, I would wager that you probably already know what WebXR is, but I'll quickly cover it just for the purposes of the recording. Um, WebXR comprises a group of standards defining various APIs that allow the browser to interface with XR devices, typically through some kind of underlying mechanism like OpenXR. It lets you create immersive experiences that can be accessed with just a URL, no storefront curation or upfront downloads or installations required. All the stuff we love about WebXR. So, where things were left with Servo's WebXR implementation in 2020, 2021-ish. So there's the main Servo repository. That's most of the stuff. But Servo also has separate crates. And for anyone who doesn't do Rust, crates are like packages. Uh, there's a WebXR crate that has the specific functionality for WebXR that handles communicating with the underlying runtimes, and then that data gets passed to Servo. So where things were left, there were 5 backends. The headless backend, which is used for testing. So this is like what powers the WebXR test API. GL window, which for the purposes of testing without hardware but still getting visual information, it spawns like a separate window that shows the WebXR content. There was the Magic Leap backend, which was used for getting Servo working on the Magic Leap 1. If you look back through their blogs, you can see a few images of what that looked like. The Google VR backend, for Daydream, that kind of stuff, and then the OpenXR backend, which at the time was specifically targeting the HoloLens. And OpenXR specific notes, because that's sort of the area that I've been focusing on. There was support for getting device pose, select and squeeze events, and then hand tracking, like getting the joints. But that was it. There's no gamepad input. Um, Interaction profile, so like what controllers it could map to. It was basically just the Chronos Simple controller, which for those of you who don't know much about OpenXR stuff, it's the like lowest common denominator controller profile you can have. So it's basically just like a 6 DOF device with a trigger. and then the Microsoft Motion Controller, which I think was a more recent addition when they had like started to explore getting it working with like Windows Mixed Reality runtime. Um, it's restricted to DirectX 11, which also means that it only worked on Windows, which, targeting the HoloLens, that makes sense. Um, Technically, it supports immersive VR and immersive AR, but the thing about that is for immersive AR, the devices that it was targeting were all like see-through displays. So it actually doesn't support pass-through. So if you were to try and launch an immersive AR session with it right now, um, it would just be black instead of having a pass-through layer. And when I first came to it and started experimenting with it, it would not render properly with any of the OpenXR runtimes I had on my system. So not Steam VR, not the Oculus runtime. And that was one of the first things that I started working on to try and get it. I had made a Twitter post a while back, sort of detailing that. Turns out there was like a row major, column major mix up in like the projection matrix calculations that hadn't been addressed. And so that was like the first step to getting that working on PC. Um, and lastly, the default input profile. So for people who know about the WebXR input profiles, um, it always reported as generic hand, no matter what. Again, because it was targeting the HoloLens, and that would have been the correct description. Um, and then Servo Shell, which is the mini browser that is used to test Servo in development. It's just like a very basic wrapper. Gives you like the bare minimum browser functionality to like navigate to pages and whatnot. It only supported the GL window backend by default, so you couldn't actually enter in any WebXR content in headset with it. That's where things were. So here's where they are now. There are three backends. You'll notice Magic Leap and Google VR are gone now. I decided to make that call, and the maintainers agreed with me because the devices that those are targeting are end of life now, and it's very unlikely that those backends would ever be used again. Uh, OpenXR specific notes. It's still restricted to select and squeeze events, but I have been working on implementing the WebXR Gamepads module, and I actually have it working locally now. So I need to do a little bit of like cleanup on the code just to get it ready for review, but that should hopefully land pretty soon. Um, I've added support for pretty much all the major controller interaction profiles from OpenXR now. So it'll properly map to, Quest controllers or Vive or even like Pico, anything. I just have it all kind of listed out with the profile paths taken directly from the OpenXR spec. Um, it's still restricted to DirectX 11 because supporting anything else requires interfacing with another crate that Servo uses called SurfMan, short for Surface Manager, which handles kind of like doing OpenGL stuff to feed Servo's WebGL implementation. And I am not super well versed in that yet, so that's why I've kind of been holding off on it. Um, it still needs pass-through support, but that is something that I want to try out pretty soon because, from my understanding, getting the Facebook pass-through extension working shouldn't be too hard. So might see that soon. It now renders properly with the Quest Link and Virtual Desktop XR runtimes. For those of you who aren't aware, Virtual Desktop, the guy who develops it, wrote his own OpenXR runtime, which is built on top of like the Oculus like VR API. So works great with Quest headsets. Um, though the one that still doesn't behave quite correctly is Steam VR's OpenXR implementation. The like, if I remember right, the FOV is kind of weird on it, and I haven't been able to test it again recently to try and figure that out. But that's where that is. Um, and it gets the proper input profiles now. So before it had no mechanism for responding to like interaction profile changes. So like when OpenXR selects the correct one, it had no way of reacting to that event. So I just added some handling for that, and now it'll properly update the input profile. And so if you were to launch server right now on the Quest 3, it would properly give you the input profile as MetaQuest Touch Plus, which is the profile for the Quest 3 controllers. And pretty recently, Servo Shell can now use the OpenXR backend. I did a PR for that, and it was pretty easy. And so, areas for improvement. This was originally called future plans, but I realized that sounded maybe a little too presumptuous, so I kind of dialed back that language a little bit. Um, Bringing existing implementations up to spec. So there's stuff in Servo and the WebXR crate that was there, like already being worked on. The device API, obviously. Um, the gamepads module, which is what I'm working on right now. The AR module, um, which can do pass through on a see-through device, but can't do pass through on like a Quest 3 or equivalent. Um, Hand input. A lot of the stuff for WebXR hand input is in there, but the spec is a little outdated, so it actually doesn't work with the current example right now because it's trying to use like an iterator for the joints that doesn't exist in servos like IDL, blah 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 blah. So that's another thing that I want to take a look at. Uh, Hit test module. I haven't super dug into this, but it does look like there's already some amount of handling for hit test in Servo in the WebXR crate, but that'll probably be something to look at later. And then layers. Servo's layers implementation is more or less a stub. Right now, it only supports projection layers, so it doesn't do like quad or cylinder or any of the like more complicated ones. And then implementing new specifications, so things that don't exist at all in Servo, like anchors, depth sensing, meshing, all of that stuff. And then last part will be expanding platform support. So obviously, like Linux support would be huge to get working in here. I know some of you might be familiar with Technobabu or Nova. They have been working on and off on a Linux implementation for the WebXR crate. I don't really know what the status of that is because I'm pretty sure their fork isn't like public, but there has been some work being done on that. And then Android support would be another um, good platform to eventually get to, but that will probably be a bigger lift because I'm not sure who has the expertise for that at the moment. Um, but yeah, why start working on this again? Um, for me, it's pretty simple. It's like three main reasons. First being the opportunity to work on like a large open source Rust code base. Rust is kind of one of the languages I've been learning for the last little while. I've written a couple emulators in Rust. My last big project was like a Rust NES emulator, which was pretty fun to get working. Um, and then the opportunity to get to work on a WebXR implementation, like not from scratch, but still with like more things to be done. That's like totally open. I think it's just really cool. It's not an opportunity you can get from a lot of places. Just with how browsers are. Um, and the last one, I just think it's cool. It's fun for me to like work on this stuff and like get it working, see it getting like more and more complete. And yeah, so I have some links here, which VR folks I know won't be able to see, but I will share these slides after so you can check stuff out. But servo.org, that's the main website. GitHub.com, Servo. You can see the repository, see the sort of stuff that's going on. And for development chat, they use Zulip, Zulip. So servo.zulippchat.com is where a lot of the discussion takes place for work and all that. And then some WebXR links. Again, I'm sure most of you already know all these, but immersiveweb.dev, my awesome WebXR list on GitHub, tons of links to WebXR experiences across as much of the ecosystem as I could find, and discord.gg/WebXR for the WebXR Discord. And that's pretty much it for me. Anyone have any particular questions? Okay. If not, then thank you very much for listening. Now stop sharing. Okay, and that is the last of the pre-planned presentations that I had lined up.
Oh,
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, anyone else been working on anything interesting lately?
We've been working on porting Hub's Community Edition to work somewhat natively on Windows. So but that was kind of cool. You're looking to get to Linux, and we're looking to get to Windows. So that's coming along fairly well.
Oh, there's also something I noticed as this meetup has been going on that would probably be pretty good to address in hubs. At least on Quest headsets, you know how in VR, the way that the text chat gets displayed is that it like pops up on a little window, and it's doing that by like doing HTML to canvas stuff. That doesn't work properly anymore. I've realized because I think it's tied to the browser request animation frame callback, and that gets throttled in WebXR. So I actually was not getting any text chat messages until I like clicked the Oculus button to open the browser, and then all of the ones I had missed just showed up at once. So that's not great
Wow.
because now you're just getting the slowdown and you don't even get the messages if you don't know that that's what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, so that the whole text chat in VR system needs an overhaul, really. I think
Yes.
HTML to canvas, I can understand why they would have gone for it originally, but I think it's not great anymore. It needs to be replaced with something different that doesn't hitch the rendering every single time. The idea I had
Yeah.
was like you could have kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen, but like VR streamers, they have this they'll be using some kind of overlay software and they'll put Twitch chat like around the wrist or something like that as like a low floating window. I think that would be a good sort of paradigm to adopt for hubs like text chat view in VR.
Yeah.
Now the actual implementation would probably need some work, and maybe I can try and get around to prototyping something with that soon. Because that would be a big UX step up, I think.
Yep. Oh yeah. And there are a lot of things that have gotten outdated on hubs and need bringing back up to
Hmm.
working again.
I know you mentioned you guys would eventually get around to kind of looking back through old PRs. Are you focusing on getting the branding stuff handled first before you really dive into that?
Yes. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes sense.
Branding first, then roadmaps, and then other stuff.
Mhm.
And yeah, looking through PRs and things is definitely still on the unofficial roadmap and will be on the official roadmap when we get it out. But there's not many people working on things at the moment, so it's taking a while.
Mm-hmm. Understandable.
Yeah, we hope as we get things out and roadmaps and like getting started documentation and start bringing things up that more people will be able to jump in and help. But
Mm.
until then, it's just been a few people. And
Oh,
we're very grateful.
have there been programming team meetups recently? I know I kind of put myself in that team, but I haven't been great at keeping up with the any happenings that might be going on there.
Not specifically. There are still the weekly dev meetups going on Tuesday. There hasn't been super lot of interest from the programming team specifically, so we just
Mm.
kind of kept it to the dev meetups and like if anyone wanted to talk about anything development related, including programming team stuff, then that would work. But
Gotcha.
they're weekly on Tuesdays at noon Eastern time.
Noon Eastern. Unfortunately, that is 6 a.m. for me. So
Yeah.
slight disadvantages of living in Hawaii. Time zones are less friendly to me now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if enough people wanted to switch the time, we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know as we get later, it gets harder for European and Asian
Mm-hmm.
time zones. So
Yeah. There's no good time that hits every part of the world.
no, which is really unfortunate.
Mhm. How
Although,
have you been, Matt?
Hey, hey. I'm actually just putting
hey
together some
Matt,
snippets of this meetup for everybody.
You're putting together what?
A couple video snippets just of the meetup,
Oh, nice.
so people know about it, that we're doing it,
Sweet.
helping get the word out a little bit.
Very nice.
That was
I
a good
can
one.
see you on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we had Bella, Felix, and Daniel. It's a good one. Good
Yeah.
presentations all around.
Yeah, and I even messaged source code like this is gonna be a good one. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it, but
Yeah, this was really good.
Yeah, tell them to get Rosie to do some of the publication of it, like have it automate some of the presentation. Just have Rosie go in there.
oh yeah.
Type something up for us.
Just get Rosie's avatar in here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that immersive web emulator that Felix was talking about. That could be really cool.
Yeah, it's really handy. Kind of it's interesting how it kind of like has supplanted the extension as the sort of a current best way to emulate WebXR right now. Because I remember when I was testing out Bela's React XR stuff, there were a couple like cases where the emulator um, extension was like erroring out, but the emulator runtime was working.
Hmm.
But yeah, super handy. Like especially being able to like record and play back stuff. I think that'd be interesting if people start using that for like integration testing or being able to like actually like test in world interactions. I know that people like Matt Hargett have been saying that they really want like the ability to be able to do that, just for
There's
like QA purposes.
You probably couldn't read the chat, but I was also saying it's just like the Janus Ghost assets, where it was kind of a packet capture and replay, and we used the same kind of techniques for recording meetings and just like immersive build sessions. But the way that we were doing it and the way that Felix is doing it, I mean, there's a lot of potential for virtual production. Like he was mentioning how it could be used to kind of get better clips in PC, when you record in maybe WebXR on a standalone, but then you could replay it. Like if you capture all those uh, movements in a text file and then able to replay, you could upscale the graphics and whatnot, maybe even interpolate the animations. But also, it could be potentially useful if you combine it with immersive body tracking for cross-platform multiplayer. If you think about it, you just have to stream it over the network versus to a file, saving it.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
It'd be good for training, for onboarding videos and stuff. If you could get it in world.
Yeah, you could do NPCs. There's a system in VRChat that it's not as advanced because it's only recording body motion, but it's called shader motion, and people use it for in-world NPCs as well.
Now, does any of that capture voice or just the positions and movements?
The Janus one used to do voice, which made the files big because it was like raw PCM over the network.
Oh.
Yeah, but I would just say that it's possible. Maybe you could do like a split file or something, but if that's
Or
how,
if you
yeah,
do
we would,
like
yeah.
some kind of encoding before it gets like streamed,
Yeah.
like Opus or something like that. I know there's like web codecs or something like that, which I think is like an interface to be able to do something like that. I remember Avier did an experiment with that like way back for Webverse something or other, I think, like
Web
WSRTC.
codecs, the really fast streaming stuff.
Yeah.
That people use for like video game streaming.
I think so. It's been a while. I'm hazy on the specifics, but
It's very powerful for recording though. For like meetings, like you imagine just hitting record. You don't even have to worry about camera motion or whatever, like getting the right frame. You can just hit record, and then later in the edit mode, you have God mode. You have like, you can get all the like angles you want. You have version history pretty much, and you can just go back in time. And we kind of left off of like working on tools to scrub through ghost recordings, so we could like kind of scrub through a meeting. But yeah, if you can imagine like what Felix is working on with that recorder, tools to kind of manipulate the timeline, being able to skip around, you could easily kind of see how it'd be useful for more than just debugging.
Mm-hmm.
Gaussian
Imagine
splat
if
video.
you could layer them.
Yeah, that's how I made some demos. I made a demo where it was just like me and a friend like building a world, but we would record ourselves multiple times in different parts of the world and then replay it all at once, so it looked like a whole bunch of people building a world.
Awesome. You could do that for theater performances too.
You could do that for Burning Man, which is next month. Make it look like a whole bunch of people are building a city, but it's actually a small group of people.
Wow. Yeah.
All right. I actually got to bounce, guys. But it's great seeing everyone here.
Yes, thanks for hosting, boss.
Yeah,
For
thank
sure,
you.
for sure.
Yeah, if you need any help with the editing of the clips, if you're recording them and want to like AI process into notes, I'd be down to help out with that.
Mm.
I'm working on that stuff.
Ooh, yeah, I'll hit you up on that on the next one for sure. I already like clipped it out too much to make it useful, but that's a good idea.
Nice, nice.
Well,
Someone has a full recording though, right? It's
Yeah,
not like-
I have a full VOD that will be on Twitch and YouTube unedited.
Okay. Yeah, full VODs
That's the
are
go-to.
good enough. Yeah.
Okay, I will see you guys around.
Okay.
I'm on too, guys. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Eh, Jimmy. See y'all.